What's up, guys? Welcome back to OverTakes. This is Misfit, and today we are going to be doing our recap for Week 4 in the Overwatch League. We'll be discussing some of the matches and the things that happen in the East and the West, and we're going to be going over the tournaments and get ready for a preview that we're going to be doing middle of the week before the tournament starts. We're going to talk about how the teams are seeded and how they got there. And we'll be doing a Week 4 edition of Team Takes, and then we will be not doing our normal match recaps because we have so much going on right now as far as tournament seedings. Before we get to all the action, I'd like to thank you guys for all of your support. If you've been here for 5 years or 1 day, thank you very much. And if you're new, thanks for stopping by. I do Overwatch League content 2 to 3 times a week, depending on what's going on. And we also talk some regular Overwatch stuff here too. Not a ton, but a little bit. All right. Not really much news going on. We did have an update on the Kickoff Clash and things like that. A little bit of news there. So I guess the international is going to be, obviously we have a COVID outbreak in China. Travel is not really in the cards for the teams that are over there. So they're going to do another Project Aloha tournament style thing with the NA teams going to Hawaii and the East team staying at home, but they're going to do a different kind of break system and that going on with that. They went over a little bit of how they're doing the patches. They're going to be going to the next patch coming up in the next tournament cycle. So the last patch on the beta, you guys played it, it's going to be the one that has the Mercy Jump and the Zen Kick and all that stuff. We talked a little bit about that last week. And they're going to be doing a couple of cool things with the skins, I guess, with these tournaments. So I kind of think it's neat. So if the teams that win their respective tournaments, they're going to recolor the Luchador Reaper skin to their respective colors and then the logos on and whatnot on the skin. I think that's a really neat idea. But yeah, that's really not a ton of news going on other than the unfortunate news that the Midseason Madness tournament is going to be from Hawaii, but not at a live event like they were originally planning on. Kind of sucks, but at least we got the regional tournament coming up. It's going to be in Dallas. I like those LAN tournaments so much better. They add more energy and fun, and that's what got a lot of people in Overwatch League. And me, to a certain extent, it got me more invested in it, watching these guys live and the crowd and all the fun and all that kind of stuff. So they need to get things situated in the East, and they'll be able to do, probably they're going to definitely want to do the finals and the playoffs live. I mean, barring any other kind of breakout thing. But at least we got the regional tournaments, the one in Dallas and the first tournament here at the Kickoff Clash. And then I believe the Summer Showdown is in Toronto. Hopefully by then the East will be able to do their own thing and have LAN events too. So that would be good to see. Let's dive into Week 4. All right, we had a lot of action going on. We're going to kind of split this in half a little bit just because there was so much action going on over in the East. And there was a few games in the West, not as many as normal, but there was some games of note we'll talk about and things that happened and how the tournaments are all playing out. So let's dive into the East. Okay, so going into the week, myself included, everybody was on the Philadelphia Fusion train. And I made the off comment of last year, I got on the train, and then the second stage, they shit the bed. They didn't even take that long this year. I don't know what happened. Watching them, all of the good stuff that they were doing in Week 1, it just went out the window. They got absolutely destroyed by Seoul. And one of the things is like I've been saying, is Prophet and Smurf are fantastic together. They just have a good synergy, and they did some of the things I was saying. Play your strength. Soul did that is. Philly they had a terrible week. They ended up going 1-3. The only team they beat was the Valiant, and they literally took themselves from the 1 slot all the way down to the 4 slot. And they're lucky that the Valiant didn't pull off 1 or 2 of the 5-map matches that they had, or they would have been in big trouble. They probably would have been on the outside looking in. And the Valiants are one of the teams that they actually destroyed this week. The only team they beat, but it was the only team they looked good against, which is kind of it's a head scratcher with I mean, this is going to be all about Philly or anything like that, but they just were not, they were discombobulated and all kinds of weird stuff. But the East in general, Hangzhou looks good. Shanghai is slowly getting back to Shanghai form and righting the ship. Chengdu is still in the Chengdu zone. Guangzhou is terrible. I still think they're worse than the Valiant. The Valiant have taken, other than the Fusion, they've taken Shanghai to 5. They beat the Hunters, and they took Seoul to 5 last week. They took Hangzhou to 5. They've taken everybody to 5, excluding Guangzhou and the Valiant, and the Fusion. Those are the 2 worst losses that they had, which is odd because I still think, and I'm standing by, I still think Guangzhou doesn't look that great. Regardless of results this week, they gave the Dragons a fight, but other than that, they're mediocre at best, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. But we saw a lot of the meta kind of solidify. I mean, they've had less gaps in their time than the West. But there are a lot of Zarya comps, a lot of things like that. We're seeing a little bit of Mei usage, some more of that, a little here and there of the Ashe kind of thing. A lot of it's map dependent, which is great. I don't mind that at all. We're seeing some teams rely on the monkey. We're seeing all kinds of stuff, which is good. But Zarya is pretty much kind of going to be the meta. You're going to see Zarya Winston most of the time, I would say. In the East, it's kind of up in the air too. One minute you think one team's good, one minute you think another team's good. Last week Seoul, I was doing here we go with Seoul, and then this week you're going, all right, Seoul looks really good. Oh wait, they still can't beat the Dragons in a meaningful match. But the Dragons, they seem to be getting back into the swing slowly. They played a lot of 5-map matches, and it was a grind this week, too. We were talking about it before on the preview. So they had a 5-map match against the Valiant. The team that I thought that would give them some trouble was Chengdu, but Chengdu did not. There were a couple of moments where, like against the Fusion, Chengdu looked really good, or the Fusion looked really bad. I couldn't really decide which, but they're in their zone again. They're doing their Chengdu things. Jinmu looks okay. I still think they need another DPS, but they're not going to go out and get it because the budget constraints and all that. So they're going to have to deal with Jinmu and kind of lean on Leave carrying them. Daisy has been playing the Zarya. He looks okay. Gaga had really didn't. A couple of the matches I looked at, he didn't really get much play in there because they're running Zarya. So Daisy is all over the board. One map he looks good, one map he looks terrible. It's just, I think it's a lot of feeling out with them, and they're kind of going to be, you're not going to know what you're going to get with Chengdu, so I wouldn't rely on too much with them. But the East was definitely very interesting, the massive load of matches that all these teams had to play, and they were pretty decent. Sunday you got some not head, I wouldn't call it head scratchers. I think the fatigue started setting in for a couple of these teams. Mostly for me it was the Fusion. They just seemed boomed from the beginning of the week when they got buried by Seoul and they got buried by Chengdu. The Spark, though, I said at the beginning of the year, guys, Spark are going to be good. And, Alpha Yi and Shy are fantastic. And honestly, one of the biggest bright spots for this team is Bernard. Bernard has been playing absolutely fantastic. His Zarya is probably, in the East, one of the best. I just watched him, his bubble management, and all the things that you really need him to do. He doesn't do the yeet grab thing like a lot of these guys do. He's really on point with a lot of stuff. The supports look good. They're just playing at a level that I finally bought into, and they're finally actually coming through. We won't be able to know until we see it because it's the East, and that's how it is. Okay, so let's talk about the West right now. The West, we didn't have a ton of games, but there were a couple of interesting ones. Obviously, the London Rain match didn't go the way that anybody really thought it would, at least for me. I mean, the way that Rain had been playing, what they had done in weeks previous, they shut down the lesser teams like the Titans. They beat Florida, which was kind of expected anyway. But they had gone on a little, not a run, but they were looking really good. And with Gator and doing the Doomfist, and then or not Gator, I'm sorry, Hawk, and then they started flipping in Gator, doing some other stuff, some monkey comps and things like that. But London just absolutely smashed them at times. The rain, it was 3-2, and a Gator at the end of the week was saying, we don't want to play cheese or whatever, and everyone's getting all up in arms about what he said. Whatever, dude. Hey, you can talk smack, I don't care, but maybe you should take something into consideration, and that London was better than you fucking thought, and maybe you can say that. You didn't get cheesed, you got flat out beat. Yeah, they ran Rhine. I thought you guys were the fucking Rhine Rush Kings. We know how to play this, and you got beat by a team that's not on the same level as you. So maybe shut your mouth and work on your comps. I don't know, but talk smack. That's fine. But remember, end of the week, back it up. You don't have to sour grape it and say they cheesed you. They didn't cheese you. They beat you. I mean, I like the attitude and stuff that they have, but every once in a while, I'm just like, yeah, you're barking up the wrong tree, guys. That was an intriguing match. Houston getting taken to 5 by Paris. Paris seems to be coming around a little bit. Houston still working on stuff outside of Doomfist. They really have to get some of this stuff down, because I don't know next stage what's going to happen as far as meta-wise. It might change up a little bit. I think we're going to still see some Zarya. You're still going to see some Soldier and things like that. You're going to see a lot of different pieces get put in, and we saw some of it this weekend. We had the Shock. The Shock were playing with their food, as we kind of were talking about. Yeah, as long as the Shock don't play with their food was my words. Yeah, and they did with the Titans. I think Proper, at one point, he had multi-kills on 4 different heroes in that, or 3. I know he had one, Hanzo, Tracer, Bastion. He might have played Soldier a little bit. He was just playing all over the place. And the one map that they lost was because they were fucking around. And that's fine, I guess, but they really didn't need to work on anything. They're just playing at such a high level of the comps they play. All right, yeah, go out and have some fun, but I was expecting a 3-0, but, the game was never in question. Now, the one big match, 2 big matches of the week that we kind of talked about, went in the direction we thought they were going to go. Glads beat the Reign. I thought it was going to be 3-2. I thought it was going to be closer, but the Gladiators absolutely smashed them. The Reign are, we talked about them. I don't know what's going on. Gladiators seem to be getting things under control, playing a lot better, a lot more cohesive. They just looked good. I mean, they made quick work of the Reign. And also, it's one of those things, too. I don't think the Reign showed their whole hand either, because they were in the tournament, so who knows. Mayhem took care of Washington. This match was close at points, but you could see the difference in the way these two teams play these Winston comps. Mag and Decay have no synergy whatsoever. They do not work together. On the other hand, when you watch the Mayhem, Checkmate and Someone were working as a duo fantastically. And you had Sir Majed playing out of his mind. The Justice, honestly, the one map they got was because of Decay. And I think Happy hit, it was on the push map, Happy hit someone who was just getting ready, like the primal animation. He hit him with a Helix rocket, or they would have lost that and killed him. But the Justice are the Justice, and you're not going to... They could go in this tournament and win it. And I wouldn't put it past them to do that, because that's a kind of team that they are. They're just weird. There's a lot going on. There are points when Krillin and Opener look decent. There are points when they look like trash. But I think the Mayhem are just better than them right now. And regardless of what anyone says, yeah, the Mayhem played trash. So did Washington, and they lost to it. At least the Mayhem beats it. But meta-wise, we're seeing a little bit of same as the East. Not the exact same, but we're seeing some diversity mostly with DPS. You're seeing some things where you're getting a little BAP in there, here and there, on certain comps and doing different things. Obviously, everyone's starting to move away from Doomfist. Also, map dependent. I like the map dependent. You run this on that map. Maybe you run a different comp on a different... I like that way better than going straight mirror, which we're starting to get a little bit into. And the thing that I talked about at the beginning of the stage was, please, I don't want to see the Reaper May things just start taking hold, because it basically becomes GOATs. And as nostalgic as people are with GOATs, I wasn't a fan. Yeah, you could see stuff. It was strategic and this and that. I want to see guys make plays. I don't want to see alt cycle, light show, Oh, they had the beat last. There you go. Match, fight over. That stuff. Or whoever, like in GOATs, whoever held their transcendence long enough. I like seeing the propers and the happies and some of the back and forth we saw with some of the guys playing Widow and different things. I like seeing that way better. But the West was kind of went as planned, other than the rain absolutely bottoming out. I did kind of make a joke too, and I was like, well, unless the Rain go 0-2, I thought the Rain had a chance of catching Dallas. They almost dropped out. So that's my kind of overview of the West. Let's do team takes. All right, we're going to hit East first. I didn't do all the teams. I did the teams that I obviously, you guys know how this works. And if you're new, what I do is when I'm watching matches, I just, at the end of the match, I'll write down a sentence or, at the end of the day, a sentence, a phrase, a couple of words about the teams that I watched. So and then we just leave it at that. All right, so let's talk East. Philly. Took 1 week to bottom out. Don't know what's going on with this team. That's my Philly take. I was going to put, they didn't drop the spaghetti. They threw the spaghetti all over the kitchen. Shanghai. Straightening out the ship. They're starting to look better. And I also wrote, who are you? Who are you has been playing really well. So that's my take on Shanghai. Hangzhou. I nailed it. They are a good team. I knew this team was going to be good, and it was one of my, not hot takes, but one of the things that I saw at the beginning of the year. I think me and Reinforce were the only two people that were on the Hangzhou train. But, yeah, that's my thoughts on Hangzhou. Seoul, they look good except for when they play Shanghai. Enough said there. It's the same old story with them year to year. So those are my teams. Oh, I forgot the Valiant. I had the Valiant in here. Valiant are better than Guangzhou, period. They took Shanghai to 5. They beat Chengdu in 4 maps. They've taken Seoul to 5. They're a good team. They just need some work. They're not as good as some of the other teams, but that's my thoughts on the Valiant. All right, let's go to the West. The Gladiators finally showing they can beat a good team. And then I have good team, a question mark in Atlanta. But that was just at the moment. I didn't know what, I'm not railing them totally, but Dallas and the Shock, kind of the same thing. Took care of the business they needed to take care of. They look like the 2 best teams in the West. Collision course imminent. Atlanta, they need to work on things other than Doom, including shutting their mouths. It has nothing to do with the Mayhem stuff either, by the way. That stuff is fun. London, people may want to start taking them seriously. Their run comps are great. Hottie, beast. They really impressed me in this stage. Better than I thought they were going to do, on the side note. Houston. Typical Houston. See Atlanta. Minus the mouth part. They need to work on things. You can't go 3-2 against Paris when you're allegedly that much better. So those are my teams. Oh, wait, and I had one more. Mayhem and Justice are close. Mayhem has more coordination. Justice is still the Justice, was my diversion on that. So there are my team takes. I didn't really dive into any teams that really didn't play this week. I could have said Paris, still Garbo, but better. Vancouver, we're gifted a map. There you go. There's my 2 phrases on that. All right, so that is team takes. Now let's quickly, as we start to wind this one down, let's talk about the tournament, how it got set up, where we're at, and then I will do a full dive into it when we get midweek before it starts on Thursday this week. So look for something Wednesday morning, early afternoon, and I'll have a preview for you ready to go. Pick'ems included. All right, so let's talk about the tournaments, how they got seeded and all that. Obviously, top 8 teams, you guys all know this. San Francisco, Dallas, Gladiators, and Mayhem were the top 4. The top 3 got to pick. Mayhem got stuck with who's ever left, obviously. So San Francisco took Washington. No surprise there. Washington's wildly inconsistent. San Francisco's the best team in the league. They had the choice to pick, and they just went straight 1-8. Dallas, everyone avoided Atlanta because Atlanta can be good. So you got to look at that. Dallas had Sparkle come out and talk a little smack about Toronto, and they picked the Toronto Defiant. Hot Boys apparently Angie he got hot but pissed off now. He said he was mad and he's going to take it out on Dallas. Okay, so you had that. You had Houston get picked by the Gladiators, and Hunter came out and did not disappoint anybody, and because he talks smack when he's breathing, that guy. So talking with Jake about it, and Jake is Mr. Nice Guy, trying not to, I don't know, trying to be Jake about the whole thing, and he's like, well, you guys are kind of good, yeah, we won, all that kind of stuff, and Hunter's like, I would be shooting myself if my team went 3-2 against Paris, which, hey, I can't blame him for saying that. Also, yeah, you might want to shoot yourself next time your team chokes away a 2-0 lead. You should have killed yourself twice already by now. But anyway, that was kind of fun. And then Gator, the Mayhem and the Rain, which is the last game they got picked. They didn't really get picked, but someone threw the gauntlet down first and said, yeah, we want them. We wanted to play them. This went exactly the way we wanted to because we think we're better than them. And Gator said that Florida is the worst team out of the top 4 anyway, so why not give us an easy match? I'm paraphrasing kind of. He was in that Atlanta zone where they have all the lights off and the just the monitor light behind him, like some kind of super villain. That's how the West set up. I didn't see the East. It was 4 teams. You had Hangzhou, Shanghai, Seoul, and Philly all make it. Hangzhou's taking on Philly, 1 versus 4. And then the 2-3 match, we have Seoul taking on Shanghai. So it's kind of like a repeat of of the matches at the end of the week in the East on Sunday, where we had Philly taking on Hangzhou and Seoul taking on Shanghai. So we're going to start right where we left off there. And the tournament looks great. Now, the one in the West, obviously, is on LAN in Dallas. It's going to be exciting to see a LAN tournament finally for the first time. I mean, we had the LAN event with the one match with Dallas and Houston. That was really cool. But we're finally getting a full-blown tournament. Double elimination, too, guys. Just remember that, double elimination. So as much smack as these guys are talking round 1, they still have a chance even if they lose 1 match. So your team isn't necessarily done if they lose 1. Which is, you could get one of these teams doing runs, and we're going to talk about that a lot more. Who could do a bottom run in the bottom bracket? You could have a situation where the Defiant or the Outlaws or the Mayhem or the Rain or the Justice, they make a bottom bracket run and just start tearing through people. You don't know. Someone could pull something out. It could be an entirely different meta. They're running on a different patch in the next round, and they could be trying to get ahead of the curve a little bit, throw a little curveball in there. You never know what's going to happen in these tournaments. It's going to be fun. The East tournament, of course, is going to be fun. When you have 4 teams, I mean, you're already at semifinals. That's going to be incredible, too. I watched a lot more of the East matches because I had a lot going on in the afternoons. Obviously, holiday weekend here in the United States. So, you get occupied with things. I watched a little bit on Saturday. Plus, we had a lot of shows drop, too. Stranger Things, Obi-Wan Kenobi, all the nerd stuff dropped. So I was kind of intermittently watching West matches, but I had to get up early for work, watch most of the East matches. Not on the clock, allegedly. But it was a great weekend. The first tournament cycle is done. We're at the end point of the Kickoff Clash. We get the full-blown tournament experience for this week, and then when there's a week off, I will try to get some kind of power ranking going up where we make some tweaks and adjustments. And I, of course, in that week break, will be setting up for the mid-season madness and getting ready for that. Unfortunately, not a live event, but it's still going to be good because we get to see East versus West. Yes, it's the Hawaii thing, but, it is what it is. And, guys, I think that's going to do it for this one. Thank all you guys for joining me. If you've been, thanks for all of your support. If you've been here for 1 day or 5 years, if you're new and you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you very much. If you could hit a like, hit a subscribe, that would be great. All the YouTube jazz helps me on the algorithms and all that, and we can get more people in here talking about Overwatch League, which is the main goal. Because I love the back and forth. Talking with you guys about teams, matches, metas, all that kind of stuff. I love all of it. This is Misfit. I'm out. Everybody stay safe, have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you on the next one.